Welcome to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series, brought to you by the C.T. Bauer College of Business at the University of Houston. We're having a conversation about work-life balance, how to navigate and overcome challenges within your career, and how to make business more accommodating to a diverse workforce.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and get started. Well, I am Lauren Christensen, so I'm a senior marketing major here at the Bauer College of Business. And today I'm here with Nancy Almodovar. Nancy, will you tell us a bit about you?
Yes, of course. Well, as you said, my name is Nancy Almodovar, and I'm the CEO of Nanning Company Properties, Christie's International Real Estate. And super excited to be talking to you guys.
Awesome. So diving right in, I want to talk about kind of your journey to U of H. So what was your upbringing like, and what made you decide to attend U of H?
Well, first of all, I wasn't born in Houston. I was actually born in Chicago by mistake. My parents were visiting and was born there, came back to Houston, but I was raised in Houston. And I've always lived in Houston my whole life, grew up in the Cypress, Katy area, and went to school out there and was actually going to go to Texas A&M. And, I'm very close to my mom. Me and my mom have a very close relationship. I want to say she's one of my best friends. And the umbilical cord, of course, didn't reach that far. So I said, you know what? I'll go to the University of Houston. It's a great school. I'm excited. And I'll go there for a year or two and then transfer. But as soon as I started, I fell in love and never left.
Awesome. I'm so glad you were a Coug and not an Aggie.
I know, right? Go Cougs.
That's right. So what were you involved in at U of H, and maybe what was your major too?
So at the University of Houston, I was a working student. And when I first started, I was going to school during the day, but my last 2 years, I did night school. So it was really difficult for me to get involved with, organizations and whatnot, just because I was always a working student. I worked full-time and I went to school full-time.
Wow. Awesome.
So, but, my major was business and minor was marketing.
Okay. How did you balance working full-time and going to school?
Oh, my gosh. It was, I think all about scheduling. And I also was going out having a good time, of course. So it was like working from 7 to 5 and then going to school from 6 to 9. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturdays, love having a good time and socializing afterwards.
Awesome.
So I had to make time for that as well.
Yeah. Did you pay your way through U of H, or what motivated you to work full-time?
So that's actually how I got into real estate. I was working all the time, and my parents are entrepreneurs, so I was helping them as well, working with them and working with the company. I think my last year was finally when I just stopped working for the company and started working full-time with my parents.
Okay.
And they own different businesses. They own supermarkets. My dad had a construction company as well. And he was also in the business of flipping houses.
Oh, wow.
So while going through college, he was like, why don't you just get your real estate license and, help me purchase these homes? So that's how I got into real estate, was during him flipping houses. I was like, you know what, I'll get my real estate license. I'll do a couple of transactions. I will get trained and educated and pay my way through school that way so I could hurry up and graduate. Because I think it took me like 5.5 years, honestly, now that I think about it.
Gotcha. So would you say real estate is something that you've always wanted to do because of your parents?
I think so. I think that at first they introduced me to it, but once I got into it, I never left. I mean, I've been in the business for about 14 years, and I got into it at a very young age. I want to say I was about 19 years old when I got into real estate. So, it started with flipping a few properties. I flipped my first house when I was 21.
Wow.
So after that, I knew it was my calling. Yes, it was a $30,000, which these houses don't exist anymore, but it was a $30,000 house in Edo.
Okay.
And we actually bought it, fixed it up, sold it, and then that's how my husband and I paid for our wedding, because he was my partner in that.
Awesome. That's amazing. I can't even imagine flipping a house. I mean, I'm 21 and sounds very complicated.
It was with the help of my parents, for sure. My dad was helping guide me through the process. My husband, had construction background, and I found the property and we did it. We were able to do it. And of course, it wasn't the way that I planned it the whole way. But it was a learning experience, and I completed it, which was great.
That's awesome. So what made you want to start your own company within the real estate realm?
So I think that came from, I was at a company for about 6-7 years. I worked with someone who was my mentor, and it was just me and her in the agency. It was very small, boutique. And finally I said, you know what, I feel like I've hit the ceiling here, and I just want to do something different. I want to maybe go work for a larger firm. And she understood. She actually, recommended a few and said, this is what I suggest you do. So I went and I sat down with 3 of the top luxury real estate companies here in Houston. And when I met with them, they were all very similar. They had, the way that they talk to you, their systems, the way they do business. I felt a lot of them had been, founded in the 80s, even before that. And I was born in 82. So to me, that was, different. And it was not something I was looking for. I wanted to be somewhere where it was going to be different, where I had an opinion, where I had a voice.
Right.
I started to talk to them in my different interviews about, have you guys thought about technology? Have you thought about virtual tours? Have you thought about including videos and real estate to make it fun? Everyone thinks real estate's so boring. And it was sort of, no, we don't do that here. Thank you for that opinion, but no, we're doing great. So that day after finally my last interview, I went home and I told my husband I'm starting a company. And he kind of just laughed and said, really? I said, yeah, I'm starting a company. It's going to be a real estate company. It's going to be technology driven, and we're going to be different.
Wow. That's amazing. Walk me through kind of, getting from him chuckling about it to where you are now, and maybe what advice you have for aspiring entrepreneurs.
So I think, him kind of chuckling about it, he's always been super supportive. We got married at I was 22. I kept changing it. He always tells me I changed it. It was either 21 or 22 when we got married. So, and we've been married for, as long as I've been in real estate. And he's always been very supportive. We waited 5 years to have children, just to make sure that we had a plan in place. So I think it started with, okay, let's start with the basics. And I had a checklist. We had a checklist together of, okay, first you need to incorporate and have a company name. Step 2. So it's more of a step process that we had to go through, just within ourselves. And it went from me and my best friend, of course, Renee, who's still with me today. He was my first agent. And then also Lori, who's been with us since the beginning. She's a dear friend as well. I'm having meetings in my kitchen, my 2 kids running around us. Today, we have about 46 agents, and we also have a support team of 13, I believe we are now, 12 or 13, including myself. That's why I say 12 or 13. I try to include myself because I'm also part of the support team.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a short little break, but once we get back, we're going to dive into more about your business. And then also, how you give back to the community and how you're able to balance your personal life with that professional side too.
Join the conversation. Bauer College's Working Families Initiative is bridging the gap between industry and academia to create a conversation on how organizations can make the workplace more family-friendly. We're talking about flexibility, maternity and paternity leave, and career transitions. For more information about the Working Families Initiative at Bauer College, including upcoming events, visit bauer.uh.edu/workingfamilies.
All right, we are back, and we are going to go kind of back to, how you got started with your business. with the Wolf Center of Entrepreneurship here at Bauer, I'm sure a lot of people are probably wondering maybe what the biggest misconception about starting a business is, or maybe also talking about the hurdles you had in your journey.
Okay. And also wanted to share with you guys, this is my first podcast.
Really?
So this is super exciting.
That's awesome.
My team, my marketing team was very excited when I told them that I was doing a podcast. They're like, wait a second, which one's your favorite? I'm like, I haven't really had time to listen to a podcast, but I definitely need to find one now. So
awesome. Well, I'm glad Bauer is your first.
Definitely. That's very important.
Mm-hmm.
So I think through, part of the journey, or I would say one of the misconceptions is everyone thinks starting your own business or having your own business is going to be easy. I can tell you that I work more than I would working an 8 to 5, twice as much more. And it's just because, and you have to want to do that. Now, there's entrepreneurs out there, that I've met and said, well, how do I start? How does it work? How do you manage your time?
Right.
Number one, this is the number one rule. You have to love what you do. If you love what you do, it will not be work to you. Mm-hmm. I love real estate, as crazy as that sounds sometimes when I say it. I love the hustle and the bustle of closing a deal. I love building agents. Now it's, shifted a little bit. I love when agents come in here and we train them and they listen and then they become a success story. Mm-hmm. So, that's the part that I love now. So it's never work. People say, what time do you have to go to work? And I always say, I'm working now. What do you mean? I'm always working.
Right.
So it's not I'm going to have more free time because now, I have my own company or I'm starting this new business venture. Mm-hmm. And something else that I see is you have to have a plan. Plan for everything. You have to know what you want to do, how you're going to do it, and who's going to help you do it. Mm-hmm. That is extremely important. And with me, yes, that day I came home and I told my husband I'm starting a company, but at the same time I was sitting down writing out exactly what I was going to do. I was doing research. I was calling my parents who had started companies before, asking them how they did it. So there was a plan there. It was not, okay, I'm starting a company and I have no idea what's going to happen.
Right. Definitely.
And I think that's a big misconception that I see and why a lot of companies also maybe aren't successful.
Okay.
Because you don't have mentors. I had 2 mentors whenever I started. They were actually 2 of my biggest clients, but very successful individuals. So I went to them and I asked them 1,000 questions and they helped me. And that's another reason why I love to mentor, because I feel like someone did it for me. So I definitely want to make sure that I do that for others.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking about mentoring, I know you give back to the community in, huge ways. So in addition to mentoring, I know you're involved with Houston Gives Back, the Houston Ballet. What made you want to give back to specifically these organizations, and why do you think giving back is so important?
So, I guess my background, maybe, that's where it comes from. I started with humble beginnings, or come from humble beginnings. It's not something that I typically like to talk about, just because that's not the only reason why I give back. But I feel like I do it more to be an example for my children. So there's a couple of reasons why. Being an example to my children, but just being an example to my team and others around me.
Okay.
It's so important to help those that are less fortunate. It doesn't, someone said, well, it doesn't make you feel better about certain things. And I'm like, it's not about feeling better. It's just because you want to do it. Like, to me, we do a toy drive every year. The first year we had Dwight Howard help. Second year we had Jose Altuve.
Nice.
And then I know, that was amazing, right? And then the third year we had the mascot from Dynamo come and, just be present when we did that. And seeing those little children's faces, when they get a toy, it doesn't matter what it is. Some kids had coloring books and crayons, and just watching them pick their toy out, made my whole month. It was amazing to see their smiles. Some were even crying, which is heartbreaking. But it reminds me, just seeing their faces, and a lot of them were so appreciative, thank you, thank you, thank you at such a young age, for them to already be so thankful. And that's a reminder of, this is exactly why I do this every year while I go through organizing 1,000 to 1,500 toys with my team. Because it is it's a process. And we do it just within our support team, nobody else. We don't have a third party that comes in and then trying to figure out how to deliver them. So it's a process that goes in, but whenever you see their little faces, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's rewarding, I'm sure, very much so.
Very rewarding.
How do you feel that you manage having 2 kids, being a wife, being this very successful entrepreneur, and giving back and sleeping?
Oh my goodness, right? I think it sounds more difficult than what it really is. It comes with time management and discipline. You just have to say, this is time where I'm going to spend on working, or this is when I'm going to spend with my children. For example, I love to sit in my bed for 15 minutes in the morning, drink coffee, and watch the news. That's just something I like to do.
Yeah.
So if I want to do that, I need to wake up at 5:30 to do that for 15 minutes, because then I have to get my kids ready for school.
Right.
Feed them, drive them, get myself, hair, makeup, dressed, and out of the door. And I like to get to the office early because I feel like those first 2 hours in the morning are my most productive. So I use those 2 hours to work. Again, it's using your time efficiently. What are you doing, that's actually, and, as an entrepreneur, what are you working on that's going to help your success? Or that's going to convert to something else? If you are checking your email, that's great, but, what emails are you checking? Is it junk mail? Is it, again, it's just about time management, using your time wisely. And I feel like a lot of us, and I include myself because I still do this sometimes, forget how to do that. And then with my husband, we have day night once a week, where even though we're super tired, we tell each other, okay, we're going to go do this. And then on the weekend, I love to bike ride. We love to work out. So, for example, this past weekend, we had good weather on Saturday. We took our kids out to Allen Parkway bike riding, and did 8 miles.
Wow.
With our kids. But they're riding as well. So it's you include them in your lifestyle.
Definitely.
And that's very important.
Yeah. That sounds like a fun weekend.
It was. It really was.
Yeah. So kind of off of that, a trending topic lately has been this topic of, women, trying to have a career and trying to have a family. What advice would you have for someone who's maybe struggling to do both, or, from your personal experiences, how have you seen success?
I've had different women ask me, when do you think is a good time to have children? At what point in your career do you think, or would you recommend is a good time? And I always say it's never going to be a good time. Like, I'm going to be flat honest with you. There's never going to be the perfect timing. That just does not exist. You just, whenever you say, you know what, I think I'm ready to do this, start a family, then just do it. Do it, have a plan, make sure you are prepared, you and your significant other are prepared, and just do it. And then once that baby comes, I promise you, everything else will work itself out. We have this saying, so I'm Latin. My parents are Mexican. And, we have this saying where we have every child that's born is born with a piece of bread under their arm, because you always figure out how you're going to keep moving forward. I always work with both my kids, and never did I feel like I didn't spend enough time with them or wasn't there. Again, it was just about, managing when you were going to be there, and then, of course, my husband and I take turns with everything. My kids play sports. I'm at all, most of the practices, most of the games.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. But again, it's, if I know that I have work to do and my daughter has a ballet recital, I go, drop her off, and I sit there and I have a laptop. What's nice is you can always be connected. She's dancing, I'm watching her, and I'm working. So, I mean, you just kind of have to figure it out. I think if you really want to do something, then you should. So there's never going to be the perfect time. You know, I remember with my daughter, my husband and I always joke around. She was coming. It was time to have the baby, and I was on my laptop. And my doctor said, "You've got to tell her to put her laptop away. Like, we have to have a baby." And not everyone is going to have that same mentality, but it's just kind of an example of, you know, you just kind of do it. Don't be afraid, because I think if, you know, you live in fear or you second guess yourself, it's, you know, that feeling of should I, could I?
Right. And then I guess kind of with that, do you feel like there's been one point that has been the most struggling, or what has been your hardest challenge for having both, you know, that career side and that having a family and having a husband?
I think the struggle has been, or something that I deal with personally, is leaving work at home. And that's just, I feel maybe me, or I've shared this amongst friends, and it becomes difficult if there's a situation at work, if you can't fix it and then you bring it home and you're trying to wrap it up, but you're trying to do homework at the same time. And that's something that I feel, you know, I need some practice with, or I'm a problem solver. My sense of urgency is where everything should be done yesterday, at least within myself. So that's something that I have to deal with, where I tell myself, okay, Nancy, you can't fix everything in one day. There's tomorrow, you know, and just take a deep breath and start all over again.
Awesome. And before we sign off, I would love to know, what are your goals moving forward, whether personal or professional?
Okay, so goals moving forward, we are hoping to open a second office by the end of the year.
Okay.
That's one, which is super exciting.
Very.
So I think business, so opening a second office in the Heights, and probably growing our marketing team. We have about 4 people in our marketing team now, looking to add 3 others. Digital marketing position. We do a lot of online, you know, different ads.
Okay.
Marketing, advertising. As you can tell, I'm not the one that manages that, because I don't even know the job description. My husband's the brains behind that. But that's something that we're definitely going to be looking to do. And then on a personal note, I'm teaching my daughter how to ride a bike this year.
Oh.
And for myself, you know, eating better. I've started to educate myself in food, which has just been fascinating. So I've never cooked before. I mean, I make breakfast, and I've just started cooking within the past 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
So I could see exactly what goes into food and trying to better my diet, and that's been very interesting. So wish me luck with that.
I do. I know it's hard. I do wish you luck. And Nancy, just so our viewers know, where can they find you, whether it be on social media or through your website?
Definitely. They can always find me on Instagram. My username is Nancy _ and my last name, Almodovar. And it's ALMODO, V as in Victor, AR. Or Facebook, of course, Nancy Almodovar. And if they want to contact me, they can always send me a message on Instagram or go to the website and email me that way.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nancy, for chatting with us today. I'm sure all of our listeners are leaving inspired and with a little more information about how you did it and how you got to where you are today. So thanks so much.
Thank you. And again, you know, you just have to keep going. Be your biggest cheerleader. It's okay. Some people think that, you know, oh no, I don't want to sound like I'm full of myself. Be your biggest cheerleader, because you need to cheer yourself on so others will too.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Working Wisdom podcast series from the C.T. Bauer College of Business, brought to you by the Working Families Initiative. The initiative aims to provide support and access for women in business school and the workforce, and to generate research that organizations can use to implement policies and standards to benefit a diverse workforce. For more information about Bauer College and this podcast series, visit www.bauer.uh.edu/podcasts.